98fm's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Well, good morning. Now, after all the hassle yesterday over tickets for the Dubs match, I have good news. My boss is a nice man, and he gave me premium level tickets for the Dublin Mayo match this coming weekend, this coming Saturday. The only catch was he told me I had to give them away. So later on this morning's programme, I have a pair of premium level tickets, not your average. You won't be mixing with the riffraff. You'll be in the premium level to see Dublin take on Mayo this coming weekend. It's Saturday at 5 o'clock, all in association with Supermax, the ideal place to fuel up and have the post-match analysis. Okay. So, what do you have to do? Well, I'll tell you what you have to do. You have to stay listening to the programme. I will tell you exactly how you can win those tickets at some stage between now and midday. So there is no point in texting, no point in WhatsApping until I tell you what we're doing. Okay, we'll have a little bit of fun with it later on. But in the meantime, there is no point in texting or WhatsApping or anything because that won't get you the tickets. But later on in the show, with thanks to Supermax, a pair of premium level tickets for this Saturday's All-Ireland semi-final sold-out match. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere in Croker this weekend. And yeah, like I said, the boss made me give them away. I still don't have my own tickets in my hand yet, so... Anyway, we'll talk about that later on. So stay tuned to find out how you can win those tickets later on this morning's programme. Now, up to 50 families and individuals in the Rathmines area, in the Portobello area, are fighting to stay in their homes after being served with an eviction notice by a vulture fund company. A protest took place outside the headquarters of Val Issuer DAC yesterday. The Vulture Fund bought up properties on South Richmond Street and Rosedale Terrace last November. They are saying tenants need to leave because substantial renovations need to be carried out on the apartment buildings. However, many of the tenants don't believe extensive renovations will be carried out and that this is just an excuse for the company to begin new leases at higher prices. Joining me on the line now is one resident who has lived at Rosedale Terrace for 7 years, and his name is Ramon. Ramon, welcome to 98FM.
Good morning, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. Firstly, I'm terribly sorry to hear your predicament. This is not a situation anybody wants to be in at a time where finding somewhere to live in Dublin is a very difficult thing.
Absolutely. It's totally, it's so difficult. We all know how difficult it is to find a new house and the prices, how high the prices are. It's just... unaffordable.
So tell me your situation. You have lived at Rosedale Terrace for how long?
It's been 7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And describe the place that you live. Is it an apartment complex? Is it a house? Describe exactly what it is.
It is an apartment complex of a total of 14 units. Mm-hmm. One of them is empty for a year. And that was for us a sign of something might happen, because you cannot have an empty apartment, an empty house with such a housing crisis. And the reason is because they wanted to obviously evict people from the houses, and then obviously they don't want to sign off a contract with a new tenant, and then some months after you have to evict it.
Okay, so take me to, so this empty apartment, it was a kind of a red flag for you. You thought, oh, there's something not right here, that with such a shortage of property, this one's sitting idle. So you knew something was in the making. This particular company, Val Issuer DAC, bought over the properties at Rosedale Terrace last November, is that right?
It was the negotiations. I think the talkings between all landlord and this company. I'd say it started back in November, but the final purchase of the official purchase of the property was back in May last year. And since then, we could see this coming. It was very quiet for a few months, and then at the end of the year, 2018, the new company, Valley Shurdak, they planned for permission. They tried to build 2 new floors on top of the building, but the permission was rejected by Dublin City Council. And the following day, the 2nd of April 2019, we have been issued with the eviction notice, with termination notice.
Now, the company themselves say that the tenants need to leave because substantial renovations need to be carried out on the apartment building. So they were turned down for permission to put extra floors on the building, but they still argue that substantial renovations need to be carried out. Do substantial renovations, from where you're looking, need to be carried out?
Not at all. Not at all. You can.
When was the building built? Do you know?
I'd say 20 years ago, but the premises just need a little bit of cleaning and maintenance. And that is another battle that I'm struggling at the moment with. I'm trying
to... so it just needs... Your average, it needs a lick of paint, basically, but doesn't need any more than that. You haven't seen any structural defects, or your apartment isn't unfit for habitation or anything like that?
Absolutely, that's correct. The fire system works perfect, windows, doors, everything works perfect. Maybe just a tiny, small thing that needs to be done in a couple of units. But that's like a regular maintenance and from the agent's landlord in this case.
Okay, so you don't believe their excuse that the building needs substantial renovations and therefore people have to get out while those substantial renovations are being carried out?
Absolutely, that's the case. Absolutely.
Have the company said when the substantial renovations are completed you can move back in?
They offered, but obviously at the marketplace. At the market price. So
after they do these substantial renovations.
Jacking up the rents like double.
Okay, so as a matter of interest, what is your rent at the moment?
At the moment, for 1-bedroom apartment, it is around 950 euro. And for 2 bedrooms apartment, it is 1,300.
Okay, which is, I should imagine, in the area that you live, somewhat below market rents at the moment.
That'll be doubled. The market rent prices will be doubled. And we see this. We see this with other properties that belongs to the agent, the landlord's agent. They just renovate some old houses. Those units, those really need renovations, but basically maintenance and cleaning. And what they do is just put up the price to double. So you see a situation where this company will give the apartment block a lick of paint and then re-rent them at double the price? I do believe so. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, now, the company haven't engaged with you at all. You held a protest outside their offices yesterday. Have you heard any more? Have they said anything more to you?
Not at all.
Nothing.
That's the second protest we held in the premises. The big one. The first one was we got into the building. We wanted to talk to him. We really want our voices to be heard, and all we want is just to sit down, talk friendly, nicely, calmly. We just need to discuss the situation, and you can. We agree. Maybe you can. Just let me say, we offered at the very start. We offered to an increase on the rent, 20% of the increase on the rent.
Which in theory you shouldn't have to do because you live in a rent pressure zone, so you should only have to pay a 4% increase in your rent. But recognising that you're paying below market rates, y'all were prepared to offer at least 20% of a rent increase, or to pay a 20% rent increase in order not to lose the roof over your head.
Exactly.
And what sort of response did you get to that?
The condition was no. But obviously we cannot leave. We cannot leave the houses. We cannot leave the apartments because we have no other place to go to.
So you were meant to technically have left in May. Is that right? Your eviction notice ran out in May.
It was issued in April, and then we will run out of time in November.
Oh, right. So you got 6 months, did you?
Exactly. They gave us, to all of us, regardless of how many years of tenancy, they gave us, to everybody, they gave us the same time.
Okay, so you got 6 months' notice to quit, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, and like we said, it's not that easy to find somewhere to live. It's certainly not that easy to find somewhere to live at the sort of rents that you're paying at the minute. So what is going to happen now? They're not engaging with you. The notice to quit stands. You have to be out by November. What can you do?
Keeping in mind that 80%, almost most of the units here in Rosedale Terrace, they have children. There is a newborn baby. It's only 3 months old. We're getting. It's impossible to find another place. And considering moving families out, and then they intended to carry out the works for a maximum of 8-9 months. That's impossible. If you live here, if you live this.
So in other words, if you were to get out, if you were to, they were to say you can come back, there's no way you could move out for 8 or 9 months because you may as well go and find somewhere new to live anyhow. Okay, Ramon, it sounds like an outrageous situation. Stay there for 1 second because I want to bring in Peter Dooley, who's the co-founder of the Dublin Renters Union. Peter, welcome to 98 FM.
Hello, Adrian. Thanks for having me on.
Another outrageous situation that people are being forced into potential homelessness. What can be done here?
Well, first of all, I fully empathise, obviously, with the situation, and we've been fully supporting the tenants on Carbassett Street, and there's other tenants in Richmond Street and tenants in Grove Park. But essentially, what it is, it's essentially government policy which has led to the situation where they've opened the doors to vulture funds to come in, to use loopholes in the legislation to evict tenants. So basically, tenants have no real long-term security of tenure in Ireland, and that's what we're fighting for. And the issue is they're using loopholes like substantial refurbishments as reasons to evict tenants, and as Ramon said, double, treble, quadruple the rents, and that's the only reason behind it. It's pure
Okay, now you are from the Dublin Renters Union. You're familiar with these buildings. Do they look to you like they need substantial renovation?
Well, as Ramon said, the one in Rosedale Terrace, there's no way they need substantial refurbishments. But this vulture fund, Val Issue or DAC, I'll just give you a background on them. They're basically linked to a company called Maple Fiduciary Services, which are basically in Ireland because of, for instance, tax haven reasons, and they're notorious used for tax haven purposes. So they're coming into Ireland, they're setting up these funds by high net worth individuals. They don't pay any tax in Ireland, and then try and extract as much profit as possible out of each property. So the issue in Richmond Street, for instance, they bought 7 properties in Richmond Street, which are pre-63 properties, which would be divided into divided into flats. Mm-hmm. And they see an opportunity there to actually to terminate tenancies through the legislation provided by the government to evict tenants into homelessness, because a lot of tenants who are living there for years and years have nowhere else to go. And generally what's happened is, Adrian, this is the fact of the cases I've been supporting people, especially in Richmond Street and in Rathmines, is that the letting agents make it the place pretty uninhabitable for people to live in, because what they do is a case with a lady in the RTB yesterday where they switched off the heating during the winter months. The central heating system was switched off completely. She had to use she was on disability payment, and she had to use an electric heater for all during the winter months to heat her place. And obviously with people being pushed into fuel poverty, and it would run down the conditions of the place. Okay,
what has happened is in some cases the conditions have been made quite difficult. So you're saying that by law, and because the way in which the law is structured, they're not actually doing anything illegal. They are claiming that they need to do substantial renovations. Is there anything to say, let's imagine if all these families do move out because they've no choice, is there anything to say that they have to then complete substantial renovations after evicting people on that basis?
Well, Well, the real issue is that something can be done, and I can give you a practical example. In December of last year, there was an anti-eviction bill passed in second stage in Adal, and it was brought forward by actually Solidarity People Before Profit, who basically, and it passed the second stage in Adal, which would stop substantial refurbishments and sale of property as reasons to evict. They're two of the biggest reasons why landlords use to evict tenants, essentially just to jack up the rent. So, a lot of work, Adrian, doesn't necessitate substantial refurbishments. It doesn't necessitate structural repairs. I'll give you one example.
I would have thought that substantial refurbishment that warrants clearing out the whole building is fairly structural, and from what I'm hearing, there is nothing structurally wrong with this building, apparently.
No, precisely. And a lot of these, as I said, apartments, their strategy, the strategy of this company is basically to make it pretty poor conditions. They don't clean, as Ramon rightly said, they don't clean common areas. They stuff like washing machines haven't been replaced, and there was an issue there with a sewage pipe was leaking in a person's property for a few months. And how could you live in those sort of circumstances? So the tenants feel intimidated and they have left. But I'll tell you one situation.
Very quickly, yep.
Yeah, what landlords did, because back in May, the landlord's agent, who are Belgrade property managers.
Sorry, I don't want to focus on any particular company with allegations without being able to substantiate them, Peter.
There's a case. Well, it was an illegal eviction took place where the tenants were living there illegally, had paid their rent, and they came in and took the doors off all the apartments in the complex. So,
to stop this sort of thing happening, and again, let's put this in context. This is up to 50 families and individuals facing eviction later this year on the basis that substantial renovations need to be carried out. What can be done to stop this?
Well, quite simple. First of all, the tenants are organising. Second of all, we've tried to negotiate with the landlords, and they're not willing to engage with the tenants or tenants' representatives. We want the eviction notice to be withdrawn. For instance, like in Ramon's case, in his instance with Rosedale Terrace, the situation is they're fearful that he might come back again with another excuse to try and evict them. And there's no, with the legislation, there's no tenant protections, Adrian, and that's what we need to
and
get.
That's what we need to
get long-term security of tenure for tenants. Where more and more people are being pushed into the private market because of the government's unwillingness to build public housing. And this is the strategy that the government has continually used about incentivising the private market and really just profiteering off people's misery.
And all they're succeeding in doing, from what I can see, is pushing people into homelessness, which is what an awful lot of these families will undoubtedly face.
Well, precisely, and as I said, there was a lady yesterday, and it's heartbreaking. You have to go back to the human stories, Adrian. Well, people's lives are being affected. There was a lady yesterday I was dealing with, who was living there for 16 years, an absolute broke down in tears at her RTB hearing because of all the pressure and stress she's been put under because of all this, hassle of trying to have somewhere else to live. She's on rent of €450, which is obviously, compared to market rates, it's low. They see an opportunity to try and to put her out in the street. She's nowhere else to go. She's no family in Ireland. She's from Russia. She's very isolated. And that's the issue, is that we're there. What we do in the Dublin Renters Union is obviously go down and advise and support people at risk of eviction and try and fight back against evictions and try and talk to landlords and try and say, well, listen, we're not going anywhere.
Okay, and in this situation, the tenants are offering to pay extra money. They realise they're paying below market rents, but they want to be treated fairer than just being chucked out, basically, in November.
I disagree with the fact that below market. I don't think they should be paying any more rents than what they're paying. I think that there is the rent pressure zones, for instance, were brought in a couple of years ago by Fine Gael and aren't working because the reasons are working is people are evicting tenants.
Yes. So I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, Adrian, there is limits there for people. I saw an apartment, for instance, yesterday in Dublin 4, and it was a landlord actually who was abiding by the legislation. It's probably one person was actually probably letting the property out at €950 and probably put it up by the 4% to a new tenant. So the issue is these particular instances or institutions are coming in, and they're the reality is landlord profits have doubled over the last 5 or 6 years, and this is just vulture funds like Fall Issuer and these companies are coming in. They're like faceless vultures. And like there's high net worth individuals behind them, and we want
Okay,
to.
the bottom line is that people like Ramon, and Ramon, I'm going to leave the final word with you. This obviously, and you and the other families and individuals are going to fight this tooth and nail right through to November. And we are going to keep in touch with you between now and over the next couple of weeks. And we will obviously, if you're having any more protests, we will give those coverage as well, because it's outrageous that you're being treated like this, it has to be said.
We appreciate these guys. And if you let me say, this is an open public invitation to everybody who wants to call over Rosedale Terrace. You are more than welcome to see the premises. You're more than welcome to see by yourself our houses and then the premises, the common areas. You're more than welcome. This is an open space. My house is everybody's houses to see what we're going through.
Okay, but over the next week or two, we will arrange for one of our reporters to go down and have a look at all of the properties that need substantial renovations. I put that in inverted commas. Ramon, as I said, we will keep in touch with you. Peter Dooley from the Dublin Renters Union, thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. Billy has a suggestion of a solution for them.
Easiest thing to do, get the scumbag Vulture company to issue each tenant with a letter from a solicitor stating that the renovations will be done. They will then be able to move back in, paying the same rent they were paying. It's simple. Let's stop all this crap. And if they won't do it, but then there is something wrong happening there. Vulture funds, absolute dirt bikes.
All right, Billy, thanks very much indeed. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, on the way after the break, I have a question for you, and it is very simple. Should drugs be tested at music festivals? Well, drugs at festivals are a reality, according to the Analyphy Drug Project. The head of services, Don Russell, has said that the welfare tents they run at festivals are to offer assistance and not to judge. And our comments come following the death of a 19-year-old who was hospitalised over the weekend after taking a substance at a music festival in Cork. And we want to ask you and find out how you feel about this. Should drugs be tested at festivals to make sure that young people are taking something that's not going to kill them stone dead? We'll take a quick break, and I want to take your calls on that in just a moment. Don't go away.
98 FM Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Don't forget, later on the programme, and I will explain to you what you to do in order to win these, I have a pair of premium level tickets to give away for the Dublin Mayo semi-final clash this Saturday in Croker. It's in association with Supermax. Stay listening to the programme to find out how you can win those tickets, premium tickets for the semi on Saturday. Stay listening. Don't bother texting now. You're completely wasting your time. And yeah, we'll let you know. Now, drugs at festivals are a reality. Well, that's according to the Analyphy Drug Project. Their head of services, Don Russell, has said that the welfare tents that they run at festivals are there to offer assistance and not to judge. Now, her comments come following the tragic death of a 19-year-old who was hospitalised over the weekend after taking a substance at a Cork music festival. And she said the first priority of volunteers at medical support centres at festivals is the health and safety of young people. They are there to protect your life, not get you arrested. Now, they say Gardaí do what they can to control the supply of drugs at festivals, but can't keep all drugs out. They can't search everyone. Now, some festivals offer customers a free drug testing service with checks for things like rat poison or bulking agents, meaning the drugs are not pharmaceutical quality. Now, we're asking, is this the way forward? Should there be drug testing at all festivals, and in fact at all nightclubs or late music venues or whatever? What can be done to stop the drug-taking culture among Irish people or to make it safer? And what role should the Gardaí play? Some people think if you take a drug and you die as a result of consuming that substance, you've only got yourself to blame. Others argue that drugs are part of our culture, drugs are part of music festivals, and people are going to take them regardless. So let's at least try and make it a little bit safer for them. I would like to hear from you on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Leanne, you're on 98FM. How are you, Leanne?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Leanne. Well, Leanne, should we have drug testing as a standard at music festivals or in late-night bars or anywhere that drugs are a thing?
I think so. I think we should, yeah, because, like, as much as, you know, if you look at other areas of society, like, we try and get rid of drugs in prisons. We aren't successful in it. We try and get rid of drugs, like you're saying, like in nightclubs. You know, we're not that we're not successful of it. Of course, the guards do a fantastic job, but we can't monitor everyone. Like you were saying, you can't search everybody. And a lot of people, I think, would see drugs as, you know, the hard drugs and the drug dealers and the drug sellers, drug pushers. But, you know, a lot of the times when you're going to somewhere like festivals, that person doesn't necessarily have a drug problem, and that can lead to naivety.
Okay, so say, for example, we heard the tragic case of a 19-year-old. It's understood, and I know they're still waiting for toxicology reports and stuff like that, but the suggestion is that he may have consumed MDMA, which is ecstasy, essentially, and whatever else might have been in that tablet is perhaps what killed him. We don't know that yet, but some people argue that if you take a drug and it does happen to kill you stone dead, that's your own fault. You shouldn't have taken it in the first place. But others believe that you should have a facility. He should have been able to, or people, you know, at festivals should be able to go up to somebody. Will you test that to tell me that there's no rat poison in it?
Well, look, there's a few things on that. One of the things is, I'm not too sure if anyone is saying, there's a very, very good movie, and it was an action movie, and it was one of the Golden Circle, whatever they were called, the Kingsmen or something, the Ninthsmen. And it was about that. It was about, you know, people who take drugs essentially, you know, don't have add any value to society. They're risking their own lives. They're putting other people at risk, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, like, when it came out about how they were able to tell who had taken drugs or not, people take drugs for very different reasons. And they're not just taking it to have a laugh. They're not just taking it to get out of their heads. You know, some people smoke cannabis for medicinal reasons even. And like, I think that poor man, or that poor guy who died, like, as far as I've read in the newspaper, like, his dad was a guard, so it's not as if he didn't know.
No, and this is the argument that whether we like to admit this or not, drugs are available at music festivals. I know the guards do their best to try and keep them out, but they can't. That's the reality. You know, you can have a bag of ecstasy tablets shoved into your shoe and nobody's ever going to find them. That's the harsh reality. So,
exactly. And I think if the welfare tents are there, then it means that if, say, I go to a festival, say if I go to Electric Picnic and I've somehow gotten 10 ecstasy tablets from me and my friends just for the weekend. We don't normally do it. Then, you know, you can take a small bit of responsibility that if you know all your friends are going to be getting them anyway, or if you know yourself you're going to be getting them anyway, go over to one of the welfare tents, put it in, you know, put one of the tablets in. And while they can't guarantee that, you know, all MDMA or all tablets are going to be the exact same, they can pretty much say on the spot, you know, as far as I know, I think they're working it off like a red flag, orange flag, green flag system. So if they give you a red flag on what you've given them, you can kind of guess, well, oh God.
We probably shouldn't take this.
Yeah, but if you get a green tablet, a green pass, like, they're not saying fantastic.
This isn't going to harm you.
Time.
Yes, okay, but
they're saying we can't find anything that's going to be damaging to you, but, you know, even while they're there,
you still take it at your own risk. Yeah. But it gives you a degree of peace of mind, and you'd be insane then to take one that was flagged red, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and as well as that, like, people, they're not going to be able to do these in a minute, 2 minutes. You know, people are going to be there. They're going to be able to have a bit of chat with the staff, and in a non-judgmental and open and understanding way, you can have those little brief interventions that otherwise you wouldn't get with people. Like, you know, if people are going to go off.
Okay, but is providing the facility of testing drugs not condoning their use? Or do we have to accept that they're being used anyhow?
If I could make a little small analogy to, like, I suppose the referendum we had last year is passing a law for making safe, legal abortion rights in Ireland, condoning everybody or telling everybody to go out and have an abortion. No, not really, but some people are in circumstances, and I know that's a very big stretch, but some people are in circumstances where they take them.
Okay, all right. So, okay, stay there for 1 second, Deanne. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Mark has a very strong opinion on this.
Hi Adrian, Mark here. Yeah, I think if you do take the drugs, it's your own fault if something happens to you. It's no different than drink driving and you crash, or having a bad diet and you go overweight, or you smoke and you get lung disease or anything like that. It's your own fault. The warnings are there to kind of guide you, but it's up to you. If you want to take them, you take them. Deal with the consequences.
Okay. Nathan, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Nathan?
Hi Adrian, how are you?
Nathan, your point on this is that nothing can be done to stop this, unfortunately.
No, because as that girl said, like, the guards are trying their best, and they do try their best. They try to clamp down on drugs as much as possible. But there are a certain few who will get drugs into these events because there is a mass amount of people. Like, if you take Electric Picnic, for example, there's 85,000 people going to that event. That's 85,000 people that could potentially get drugs in there. Like, obviously not everybody's going to get drugs in there, but there are going to be that.
And not everyone's going to try either.
Well, not everyone's going to try, so yeah, that would be unfair to say that. Not everyone is going to try, that's true. But, like, I mean, if security are searching 85,000 people, that limits, like, their facilities, and it limits the amount of people that can actually...
Yeah, but I did say, with the, unless you were to conduct strip searches, it's practically impossible to prevent drugs getting into an event with that many people. It is impossible. It's not practically possible. It is impossible to prevent it, because you cannot strip search every single individual walking into the place. So your point is that this is going to happen whether we like it or not, and we just have to deal with it.
Not that we have to deal with it, but I mean, because it is going to happen regardless of what people try to do, we do need to actually limit the risk of people dying. So we do need to actually put these interventions in place where, say, for example, if somebody has drugs, they can get them tested. At least then they know what chemicals are in those tablets. Like, say, for example, MDMA is the active substance that's in ecstasy tablets. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's in every single ecstasy tablet, because sometimes they contain PMA or PMMA, which, from doing my own research prior to the show, I realised is actually a lot easier to create, it's a lot easier to make, and it's a lot cheaper. So a lot of drug dealers are actually making this instead of MDMA because it's not...
And is it more dangerous?
It's supposed to be lethal. That's exactly what's supposed to kill people. It's not the MDMA, it's the PMA, because PMA is a toxic chemical and it can actually cause people to die.
Okay, so the point being that if you happen to be at a festival and you happen to buy one of these tablets, or a few of them, you should at least be able to find out whether or not it contains a substance that might kill you.
Definitely, because if you don't, then it's actually putting your own life in danger. And I know, obviously, people are making the decisions themselves. No one's saying, there's a tablet, you go and take it. They're making those decisions. But I mean, everybody has friends, family, whoever, who may take these drugs at some point in their lives. And would it not be safe to say that if the interventions were made to stop people dying from, like, it would be safer, and if these, like, testing units or, like, drug test tents were available at festivals, so that could actually reduce the risk. Like, everybody else.
Okay, so we need to grow up and face the fact that regardless of what is done, you will not prevent drugs getting into. You might limit the supply, but you won't prevent them getting into a music festival with 80,000 people at it, no matter what you try and do. So we need to instead wise up and prevent people dying, essentially.
Yeah, by putting these units where people can actually get the drugs tested in place, because then, if, like the UK, these are available, it will reduce the risk of people dying.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Nathan, if you can, please. And Dave, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break. Do you think this is the answer, to be providing drug testing facilities at all festivals?
I think it's a more mature approach.
Okay, stay there for a second. I'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. We'll take a quick break and we'll take your calls in just a moment.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
A really tragic story from last weekend of a 19-year-old who was hospitalised over the weekend after taking some substance at a music festival in Cork. He sadly passed away. And it highlights, firstly, the dangers of taking drugs in the first place, but it also highlights the ready availability of drugs at music festivals, and no matter what the Gardaí or the law or anybody tries to do, they are going to be part of it. You can never, ever stop drugs getting into a festival. You cannot strip search everybody going in, so they are always going to be there. So, with that in mind, and with the fact that a lot of people sadly take them, shouldn't we put in have a situation where all drugs can be tested? You don't have to get them tested if you want to take the risk, but you can get your drugs tested, whether it be ecstasy tablets or whatever it is you're taking, to see that they're not going to kill you, or they don't contain rat poison or whatever. Dermot, you're totally against this idea. Why?
Absolutely. It just feels like you're condoning it. Like, come to our festival, bring our drugs, and we'll test them for you. You know, that's how...
Well, no, they wouldn't be saying that. They're saying, come to our festival, don't take drugs. The Gardaí will stop you.
But if you do.
The Gardaí will try and catch you if you're bringing in drugs. But, and it's the big but, if you are taking drugs, which people do, come and get them tested, and at least you'll know you're not going to die.
I still feel that, you know, I don't know, the way we see this is you're going to be looking at a poster for a festival, and it'll have a big line at the end, free drug testing at our festival. You know, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. But you believe this is just condoning drug use, encouraging drug use nearly?
Yeah, it really is. What you should be doing is, like, I don't mean to be bad, but like, a family lost a 19-year-old there at the weekend.
Yes.
I would like to think that what would help them through some of their grief would be hopefully other kids see how dangerous this is, and, you know, don't touch drugs at festivals. I know it's going to happen, but we should focus more on the dangers, not only the fact that they kill you, but the mental side effects as well.
And in an ideal world, every other 19-year-old would hear the story of that 19-year-old and go, "Oh my God, I'm never touching drugs." The reality of it is, when you're 19, you think you're invincible anyhow.
Look, if 10% of 19-year-olds took it on board and said, "Oh shit, this is too dangerous," well, there's 10% of 19-year-olds that you're saving.
I could argue with you that if you test the drugs of every other 19-year-old, you might find dodgy tablets and save a life.
Look, I don't know. I just feel that you should just show the dangers. All the dangers, not only the fact that you kill you.
And this tragic story, in your opinion, shows the dangers as clear as day.
Of course it does. Of course it does. In a horrible way, it highlights how dangerous it is.
But if, and again, we're speculating somewhat. We don't know full toxicology reports or anything yet. But assuming, and well, it has happened before, that a young person takes a tablet and it killed them. Surely having a facility that young fella or people like him could have had that tablet or whatever it was tested, he would have found out, oh, geez, there's something in that you don't want to take.
Yeah, but I don't know, it just shouldn't be. I still feel, no matter what, I still feel you're promoting it. Like, you know, you're going to take drugs, bring them to us, we'll check them for you. You know,
well, okay, stay there for 1 second, Dermot. Stephen, you think people need to get their heads out of the clouds here?
Yeah, Adrian. Listen, people are taking drugs since the Greek times, Adrian, and they're always going to take drugs. We need to get that, and people need to get their heads out of the sand, first of all. But if you go back to the early 90s, we all remember that case, Leah, I don't know her surname, but it was highly well publicised, 19-year-old girl, first time taking an ecstasy tablet, and she died. I think everybody remember that story. Drug use has increased exponentially since that, so it hasn't made one bit of a difference. So we need to protect children, Adrian, and I'd actually go as far as extending it to all pharmacies for everybody to test their drugs.
So what, you can just walk in off the street into your local pharmacy with a bag of ecstasy and say, "Will you test them for me?" That's ridiculous.
No, hold on, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because people are buying all sorts of crap on the internet now, coming in from China, and if these people realise what's actually in the stuff they're putting into themselves, it might deter them.
And you couldn't be asking a pharmacy to make a decision to say to somebody, yeah, that tablet's all right.
No, I didn't ask the pharmacy. You go in and you buy a solution and you go home and test it yourself.
Right, okay, so you're not putting the onus on the pharmacist.
No, absolutely.
But okay, as far as you're concerned, it's time we got real here. It's time we accepted that people are going to do this. Let's try and make it a little bit safer for them to do it.
80%, I'd say, or higher of festival goers, Adrian, have experimented. Probably higher, 90% plus. And if people don't think that's going on, they need to go to a festival and see what's going on.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you on that. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Stay there for 1 second. Let me go to James. You're on 98 FM. How are you, James?
Hey, how are you?
James, you've got experience of what they do in Holland.
Yeah, when I was over there, I was just chatting to some people, and they're very forward-thinking. Like in relation to, say, heroin in this country, all you need to do is walk into town and you see the amount of junkies on the side of the street. What they've done in Holland, I think they did in Sweden as well, is they have safe facilities where they go in. So people go in, they take their heroin, they have doctors and nurses on standby if someone ODs, and while they're in there, they will obviously be able to help them. They'll be able to...
Okay, this is something that was attempted here by Merchants Quay Project, and it was turned down only last week. It didn't get the planning permission.
I'm not surprised. We're so rigid in our thought process in this country to how things are done and why they're done. Even just the guy who was on, not the last guy, but the guy before. Oh, sure, I don't agree with it. I don't think it should happen. It's like the only way you're ever going to get people to not take drugs is to educate them. It's as simple as that. When you're young, you're impressionable.
But sorry, James, how is providing a facility for testing your drugs educating anybody? It's condoning it, is it not?
It's not condoning it. If people are going to do it, they're going to do it regardless. The only way you're going to change their mind is by telling them what's in the drugs, or telling them how it's going to hurt their bodies, or telling them if it's potentially fatal for them. You're not turning around and going, take the drugs, have a bit of gear, you'll be grand. You're going to turn around and go, if you take this, your potential for dying is higher, and this is what's in the drugs. The only way, it's the same with all our problems in this country, our diet, our alcohol issues. It all comes down to, we know what we should be eating, we know what we should be drinking or not drinking in Ireland's case, and we know what we shouldn't be doing drugs-wise. But why do we do it? Because we choose to do it, we want to do it. Education is the only way we're going to get out of this.
Okay, so we need to accept the fact that people do take drugs and will continue to take drugs despite the risks, and perhaps, if with drug testing or whatever, reduce those risks somewhat.
Correct. At the moment, we've more information than ever out there. On the internet, everybody has all the information they need. But yet, drug abuse and like cocaine and nightclubs and all that is higher than ever. I'm 34 years of age, and I've gone to a nightclub recently. The amount of people taking coke is unreal. It's unbelievable.
So I believe that.
And I've been going to the nightclubs for like 15, 16, probably longer than that now. So if we're coming down to going, oh, well, you know, the stats will change just if we do whatever and keep, you know, it's like, it's not going to happen. We need to educate people. We need to try something different. If we keep doing the same thing and the stats are getting higher and higher and higher, which is what's happening, what we're doing is not working.
Okay, Dermot, what do you say to that? If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's not dealing with the problem. It's not dealing with the situation.
The key word the man used there was education, and what I was saying was that if you put the time and the resources into educating and actually letting the children, we call them, the teenagers, let them know exactly what they're putting into their body and the dangers it's doing, rather than testing it for them, I just don't see that as a way out. I don't see that as the answer, and I never will.
But don't we do all sorts of things to prevent serious injury or death to people? Like we're told to wear our seatbelts, for example, in cars to prevent us flying through the windscreen and being killed stone dead. Isn't this just another death prevention thing?
Yeah, but there's an air of I don't know. You're condoning it as the word there as well. You're saying, like, and I'll stick to this. Come to our concert. You'll have a great time because we'll test your drugs and we'll make sure that you don't die. Okay,
now, Sinead, your point is that you never tried drugs because of the fear of what might happen. And I have to say that's one of the reasons I never have either, is because I've always thought to myself I'd be the one that'd keel over and die. And you say if you remove that fear, then everyone will do it.
Like that was my biggest fear.
And me too, I'll be honest, yeah.
I've seen friends taking it when I was a teenager, ecstasy a lot, and I would never ever, because I was terrified that I'd be the person that something had happened to. And if you remove that and you're thinking, it's actually all right. They said it's okay.
So in other words, Sinead, don't be worrying. Look, it got a green light. It passed the test. You'll be grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I take that point, yeah.
And then also you have to think, if these people are testing it and they say, yeah, it's grand, you go on off and you take it, and then something happens to them. Like, for example...
No, but my understanding is in some facilities it's just a machine and you decide based on what colour the lights are or whatever.
You could also have some sort of a comeback on that if something happened to somebody. I mean, for example, I could take 2 Norphen Plus for pain. Nothing will happen to me. My uncle, on the other hand, he has a reaction. He cannot take it.
Yes.
So if somebody else had a reaction to whatever was in it, there could be a comeback on them as well. You know what I mean?
But you believe we need to maintain that fear. And sadly, the case of the 19-year-old of the weekend, that will instill a degree of fear in certain young people where they go, oh shit, Jesus, look what happens to that young fella. I'm not going to do it. Okay, so that fear needs to stay. So in other words, people need to die. That really doesn't make sense.
No, I don't think you'll ever be able to stop people from dying from taking drugs. But I think removing the fear will not encourage people to take drugs, but
somebody like you or me might have said, oh yeah, I'll give it a try now, because I'm not so worried about it. Okay, I know it's a good point. And finally, Mark, your attitude is like that message we played a while ago. You take drugs, you suffer the consequences.
Yeah, it's just like just before anybody jumps down my throat, like I have lost friends over a number of years due to drugs. So I can see both sides of it, but I still, I have sympathy with the families of what happened and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I think if you do run that risk, you have to take the consequences with it. I don't know what way the society is going now with the drug treatment places where the injection centres is and testing drugs. It's just another kind of way of kind of letting people take the drugs. So where does it stop? If you go to these festivals, a group of friends go in, get the drugs tested, and show up as potentially kind of safe. If somebody has an allergic reaction or something to one of the ingredients and dies, we have a blame culture in Ireland.
No, and that was the point. That was the point that last caller made. That maybe somebody will have the finger pointed. You said that drug was safe, and that's not. I don't think it would work that way. But I get the point that you're trying to make. But you don't believe that testing drugs is dealing with the problem.
No, it's not. It's just giving people kind of another way out. So if you don't take one drug, they take another drug. All
right, Mark. Thanks very much indeed for your call. Overall, I have to say, from the calls and the messages that we've gotten in, most of you agree with this idea. Feel that people are going to do it anyhow, so we may as well make it safer for them to do so. Anyway, thanks very much indeed for all of your calls. You're listening to 98fm's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, on the way after the break, something that we like to do every Thursday, we want you to share with us your first world problem. This is that little problem in your life right now, which really in the grand scheme of things is not a problem at all. So, for example, I have a first world problem. I'm giving away premium level tickets for Saturday's match, and I'm only going to have ordinary tickets for Saturday's match. That's my first world problem. It's small, but I'd love a premium ticket for Saturday, but I don't have one. That's my first world problem. What is your first world problem? That little problem that's annoying you, but in the grand scheme of things really isn't a problem at all. Call me right now on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Your first world problems next. 98. It's 11 o'clock across Dublin City and County. Good morning. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98fm's Dublin Talks. And this is Trish with Thursday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Irish Rail has collected more than €1.2 million from fare dodgers in the last 18 months. Rail bosses say in that time, almost 20,000 people were caught out. There are calls for the revenue collected to be put towards increased security on services. No steps have been taken to ensure the return of Lisa Smith and her child to Ireland from Syria, and they remain in grave danger, according to her solicitor. The Dundalk native is being held in a refugee camp and is looking to return home. Taoiseach Leah Varadkar says if she returns, an investigation will be needed into her activities. And excessive screen use is damaging children's eyesight. That's according to an optometrist who's reminding children and their parents of the damage that screens can do. A report by the World Health Organization shows that the average child consumes at least 7 hours of screen time every day. And now you're up to date on 98.
The sound of the city. 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Good morning, how are you today? We're here till midday today, and in this hour of the programme, I have a pair of tickets to give away for the Dublin Mayo Clash this coming Saturday. Not just a pair, a premium level pair of tickets for the match on Saturday with thanks to Supermax. So stay listening. I will explain to you very shortly exactly what you have to do to win those tickets. Okay? Before that, I want you to share with me your first world problem. I love this part of the show, actually, because first world problems are so pathetic, really. This is a problem that you have in your world, which really, in the grand scheme of things, isn't really a problem. But for you, it is. Okay? For you, it is a first world problem. I'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Joey, you're on 98FM. How are you, Joey?
How are you doing, Adrian? How are you?
Joey, what is your first world problem?
My first world problem is a heartbreaking problem.
Okay, go on.
Really got me down now, and I find it really difficult to get over this. Yesterday morning, I found 2 grey hairs.
Oh, no.
Yes, my first 2 grey hairs. I'm touching 40. Some people are saying I'm lucky, but...
Yeah, no, I have known men much younger than you to go grey, much younger than you. Yeah. But it is a bit of a shocker, isn't it?
Come here, it's a sign. It's the wake-up call now to try and man up and grow up now and try and be an adult. That's what the missus tells me anyway.
So 2 grey hairs, what part of your head?
Just over my ear.
Just over you. Oh, yeah. You see, that's where they come. That's the You'll be as grey as a badger in 5 years.
That's what everyone's telling me. And someone said if you take them out, you get 7 more. So I'm not going to touch them.
Okay, your first world problem is that you have 2 grey hairs.
Yeah.
No, that is awful. That is awful.
Survive and keep going anyway.
I've lost count of how many I actually have, so...
Well, I'm not doing too bad. 40 years of age. My younger brother, who's 8 years younger than me, is covered in them.
All right, okay. So, yeah, you're doing all right. But
he's had a stressful life.
It is... I always remember the being in the barbers probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe less, and looking at the hair dropping on the cloak thing, and realising how much grey was in it. It was like, oh, that was actually, it was such a moment for me. Anyway, yes, it is a first world problem, though, because you're not dead. You're not dead. You're not going to...
Well, hang in there. Hang in.
Good to talk to you, Joey. Right, thanks very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98 with your first world problem. This is a problem in your life that really in the grand scheme of things isn't really a problem, but you see it as a problem. Like this message from Derek.
Adrian, I've a whopper of a first world problem. Myself and the wife are looking to book a holiday. We can't choose whether to go to Chicago or New York for a few days. I honestly have no idea what to do. I'm struggling here.
That is awful. The choice between Chicago or New York for your holidays. Yeah, I actually prefer Chicago to New York, if that helps. But New York still has lots going on there. That's an awful first world problem, Derek. Keep them coming in, please. On 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. My first world problem, says this message from Laura, is when the tinfoil roll divides and I can't get a sheet anymore. It's impossible to fix. So you know what she's talking about there. This is where, like, tin foil, it doesn't stay in a straight line, and then it it is a major first world problem, because then you can never get the roll of tin foil back the way where it's just in a straight line. You just can't. It's impossible. Keep them coming in. 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Glenn, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Glenn?
I'm good, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Glenn. Glenn, what is your first world problem?
My 15-year-old month goes boo every time I say up the Dubs.
So you say up the Dubs, and your 15-month-old says boo?
Yeah, he goes boo.
Oh, boo, as in...
Yeah.
Oh, like down with the Dubs.
Yeah, now... You have to understand, my partner is from Kildare and the whole of our family are from Kildare.
So she's a lily white, and she's obviously had a bit more time to train your daughter to say boo when you say up the Dubs.
No, see, what was happening was I have all the kids saying up the Dubs, and their parents will go boo.
Oh, right.
My 15-month-old picked her up straight away and just goes, every time I say it now, she goes boo.
That's class, that is. And come here. What happens? I always wonder what happens in a household, especially if you're a Gas supporter and both Gas supporters, where one is, for example, from Kildare and one is from Dublin. We played Kildare only a couple of weeks ago. What happens then?
Well, see, it's hard for me because I went up with the family the last time, and I was Jolly Dub in a van full of Kildare people. So when we were coming home, wasn't great. Like, especially when I was playing all the Dublin songs on the radio.
Brilliant. Okay, so your 15-month-old says boo when you say up the Dubs.
Yeah.
That's a real first world problem. That's awful, that is.
Terrible.
Thanks, Glenn.
No, thanks very much.
Keep them coming in. My first world problem... sorry. This one from Ashley. Ashley has a first world problem.
Hi, Adrian. I'm having to go to a wedding on Saturday night, meaning I'm going to miss the first match of the day of the Premier League season. I'm even trying to find excuses not to go.
Now, he did sound a bit English, so his first world problem isn't I have to go to a wedding and I'm going to miss the Dubs match on Saturday. That's not his issue. It's the return of match of the day is his issue. Actually, I've just thought of another first world problem. I am going to be on holidays when the All-Ireland final is on. Now, we haven't made it there yet, but should we beat Mayo on Saturday, I'm going to miss the final. What a first world problem. And the reason it's a first world problem is it's the second year in a row. Last year we were actually away for the All-Ireland final as well and had to watch the match in an Irish bar in Budapest, which didn't have a particularly great atmosphere, it has to be said. So, yeah, hopefully I'll find somewhere nicer this year. Now, Kyle, what is your first world problem?
How are we doing, Adrian?
Good, thanks, Kyle. Not a bother, thank you.
My first world problem is that I'm only after purchasing a new 70-inch TV. When I'm sitting there watching the movies on it, I'm having a packet of crisps, I'm chewing the crisps, and I can't hear the TV.
Okay, so explain that to me again like I'm a 2-year-old.
Right, so I'm sitting there, we're watching the TV, right? We're eating our sweets, we're eating our crisps, things like that.
Yeah.
And because I'm chewing, I can't hear the TV because of the music showing. And it's a big 70-inch TV, and it does my head in.
Now, would you not put on a set of headphones? That would deal with it.
Yeah, but, like, you know, you don't want that kind of weight on your shoulders either, on your head, so, you know.
Right, so chewing your junk, which is really what it is making it difficult for you to hear the television.
It's very difficult, it is, yeah.
That's
awful.
That's just awful,
I don't know what I'm going to do about it.
That's an awful first world problem.
Yeah, I might just go out and buy a new surround sound system. I don't know.
And have speakers at either side of your head.
I might do. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's the way to deal with it.
Put the missus in the kitchen and that's that then.
Good man, thanks very much, Kyle. Thank you. Roisin has first world problems.
Lads, I cannot find my sunglasses.
Oh no!
I only got them. They're somewhere, but where is beyond me. I've searched everywhere, and of course the sun is shining today. No sunglasses for me. Definitely a first world problem.
It's an awful thing. I was actually driving my car yesterday and discovered, and it was lovely and sunny, I discovered I hadn't got my sunglasses in the car. And I had to drive in the bright, like it was Bloody awful. Peter, what's your first world problem?
Well, this is serious now.
Okay, go on.
Right, so I went out and bought myself a new 19.2 van.
Yeah?
Now, the only problem I have with it is the cup holder is on the wrong side.
Hang on. So you have a 192 van.
Yeah.
And the cup holder, what, is in the door, is it?
It's on the other side. It's on beside the gear stick. But everybody knows you drink with your right hand when you're driving because your hand is on the gear stick.
Oh. Now
the cup holder should be beside the door.
All right, so you're used to having a cup holder beside the door, and now it's in the middle beside the gear stick, and you can't drink with the cup in your left hand.
No, because I keep spilling. I keep putting it down to the right and realising it should be on the left. And I go,
Good
no,
God.
no, it should be over. It's awful. I swear. I was thinking about bringing the van back.
That is an awful first world problem.
Shocking, isn't it?
Now, I've never had a cup holder on my right-hand side. I've always had it on the left beside the gear stick, so I've never known any different. But if you're as sloppy as you and you're going to spill it all over yourself, well, then that is a first world problem. That's major. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed, Peter. Let's squeeze in a couple more first world problems. Michael!
Can't believe I have to work during transfer deadline day.
It's 5 o'clock today. It's no big deal, is it? Or maybe it is. Get alerts on your phone and get them to flash up alerts. Karen, finally, what is your first world problem?
Hi, Adrian.
Hi, Karen.
We have just got a beautiful new kitchen, an extension in our house.
Oh, lovely.
And I just have to clean all the time. I'm spending my life cleaning.
Oh, no. Because it's so new.
No, because it's second. I wouldn't have cared before, and we had a stinking old kitchen that I never bothered about. Always saying, "Oh, we'll have a new kitchen soon." I'm not bothered getting down on my hands and knees scrubbing. And now we have bifold doors going across the back of the house that's full of glass, and I have 2 kids with fingerprints everywhere.
Oh no!
We have a range oven that I have to clean every day. It's miserable, so I need to get a cleaner, but I'll never be able to afford it after paying for the kitchen.
Oh. So you have to constantly clean your beautiful new kitchen.
Constantly clean it, I know. Total first world problem.
Oh, that is awful. That is
I'm off for the whole summer and back to school in 3 weeks' time, so that's a double first world problem.
Oh, you've another 3 weeks. Oh, God love you.
I know.
That is an awful first world problem.
I know, it's terrible. I really deserve those tickets.
Are you delighted with the kitchen?
Delighted. I know we are chuffed. We're 10 years in our house. We were renting for 8 years and then we bought it 2 years ago. So we always kind of had it in mind. We always said, if we ever buy this house, this is what we'll do. But yeah, we got there eventually.
Finally got it there. All right.
Got there eventually.
That's a good first world problem. Thank you very much indeed. And finally, Dano.
How are you doing, Adrian?
How are you, Dano? What's your first world problem?
Baby shark. Baby beating sharks on. I'm on the holidays from work and I've heard so much I want to go back. It's dreadful. It's driving me crazy. I can't do baby shark. Oh, stop. Oh, stop. No. It's in the kitchen. It's in the sitting room now. I'm stuck. Oh,
right,
no.
Oh, that's actually it in Arabic or something like that, I think.
Oh, yeah, there's all different versions.
Yeah.
You have all sorts of kids singing it. It's dreadful. Can't be escaped. Oh,
come on, let's hear you singing it.
Oh, it's dreadful.
Oh, it is. It's such a head melt. It's such a head melt. It's brilliant. Anyway, Baby Shark. When are you back to work?
The 15th.
The 15th. It can't come soon enough.
Oh, I can't wait to go back. It's been dreadful. Baby Shark.
All right. It's going to happen for another week, so sorry about that, Dano.
Yeah, and then every time I'm on a bus, you get to shout on the phone, Daddy, play the Baby Shark. I have to sing it down the back of the bus. It's dreadful. Absolutely dreadful.
Thanks, Dano. Finally, Adrian, my first world problem happened yesterday. The chipper put ketchup on my chicken burger. Ketchup, I ask you. It was meant to be just mayo, onion and lettuce. But nope, he had to put ketchup on it. Ruined my day, and I'm still not over it. Chicken and ketchup are not friends, says Michelle. You're dead right, Michelle, now I have to say. I would be horrified with ketchup on a chicken burger. I love chicken. I love ketchup. but chicken and mayo go hand in hand, and a burger and ketchup go hand in hand, but not the other way around. Yep, there you go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, would you like to win yourself a pair of tickets, premium level tickets, for this Saturday's Dublin versus Mayo match in association with Supermax, the ideal place to fuel up and have the post-match analysis? In other words, go to Supermax after the match and talk about who performed well and who didn't perform well. Anyhow, with thanks to Supermax, I have a pair of premium level tickets to give away. And if you want to win them, you need to deserve them. Okay? You need to be a real fan of Gaelic football, particularly Dublin Gaelic football. Because in my hand here, I have a load of questions, and we're going to run a very quick quiz, and the first person who gets 3 questions right wins the quiz and wins the tickets. But all the questions are about Dublin GAA, about Gaelic football, so you need to know. You're not going to be able to Google the answers because you'll be on the phone with me. If you would like to take part in that quiz to win yourself premium level tickets for Dublin versus Mayo in the Cusack stand this Saturday in association with Supermax, call us right now on 6797981. Don't text, don't WhatsApp, don't do any of that. Just call 6797981, and we will take contestants until somebody gets 3 in a row right. Okay? Call us right now, 6797981. The first person who gets 3 questions right wins the premium level tickets. And we'll do that next.
98fm Dublin Talks. Call 6797981.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Now, after the final whistle goes this Saturday night, I hope ringing through Croke Park will be this.
Alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels. Alive, alive, oh.
Because that's what will be played if Dublin beat Mayo in the All-Ireland semi-final, the sellout game this coming Saturday. That's what will ring through the stadium if we happen to win. Now, there's been all sorts of hassle over tickets this week. It's normally a thing you expect for the final, not necessarily for the semi-final. But anyhow, there was a lot of hassle. So just to ease it over for you, I know some of you haven't managed to get tickets yet. I have a pair of premium level tickets for Dublin versus Mayo in the Cusack stand this coming Saturday in association with Supermax. And we have a quiz. And it is a GAA, Dublin GAA related quiz. The first person who gets 3 questions right wins the quiz. Okay? So, Gareth, you're on 98fm in Ballybrack. How are you, Gareth?
How are you doing, Adrian?
Welcome to Dublin Talks. Now, Gareth, how much do you know about the GAA, in particular Dublin GAA?
Yeah, I'd say a fair bit, Adrian.
Okay, well, we're going to find out now in a second. If you can get 3 questions right, you win. It's as simple as that. Okay? The first person who gets 3 questions right wins those tickets. So, question number 1. Dublin have won the All-Ireland for the last 4 years in a row. 2015, 16, 17 and 18. Can you tell me the teams they beat in those finals?
Mayo, Tyrone, Mayo twice, and Kerry.
So say that again.
Does it have to be in that particular order, Adrian?
No, it doesn't have to be in that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Kerry, Tyrone, and Mayo twice.
Kerry, Tyrone, and Mayo twice. Is that the right answer? Yes, it is. That's number 1. Second question for you. Who was the Dublin manager before Jim Gavin? Dublin football manager. Now, I have to rush it.
Yeah, no problem. Pat Gilroy.
Pat Gilroy is the right answer. That's your second one. Question number 3. Dermot Connolly returned to the Dublin fold last week and started the win over Tyrone. He was recently playing football in the United States, in Boston. Can you name the club he was playing for in the States?
Yeah, I think I can. It's either Donegal, Boston, or Boston, Donegal, in either order.
Donegal, Boston, or Boston, Donegal in either order. Is that the right answer for a pair of premium level tickets for this Saturday's match? Good man! Well done. 3 questions in a row. You have just won yourself a pair of premium level tickets for this Saturday's All-Ireland semi-final, Donegal versus Mayo, Gareth. Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Adrian. Love the show.
They were tough questions. Fair play to you knowing the Dermot Connolly one. I wouldn't have had a clue about that one myself. Here, just while you're on, right, we had a load of questions prepared. You just won. See how well you would have done if you got different questions. Let me throw a few more at you, yeah?
Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
There's only one county that has won the All-Ireland more times than Dublin. Who is it?
Perry.
It's the right answer. How many times have Dublin won the All-Ireland? 21, 25 or 28?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's 25.
Is that the right answer? No, it's actually 28. So you just,
I knew it was one or the other.
You just stumbled on that one. Fair play to you. Anto in Cabra and Stephen in Glasnevin, I'm really sorry. He won. First contestant. There you go. Sorry, lads. Thanks very much indeed. There you go. Congratulations, Gareth. We'll be in touch with you straight after the programme. We'll arrange to get those tickets to you. Well done.
That's great, Adrian. Thanks a lot.
Premium, thanks very much indeed, Gareth. Premium level tickets are his. I didn't think, some of the questions we had here. Fair play to him. He got all 3 right from the get-go, and yeah, he's just won himself a pair of premium level tickets with thanks to Supermax. Now, this is 98FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Here is a question for you. I want to move on to something else, and it's one of those dilemmas that I don't know how parents cope with this. I want you to have a listen to a message that we got from a listener called Lorraine. And I have a question for you. Would you be offended if you found out your child's friend is not allowed a sleepover in your house? Well, that's exactly what our listener Lorraine is feeling. After an invitation for a sleepover at her daughter's house was rejected. No, you cannot stay in your friend's house. Have a listen to this. As I said, this is from a lady called Lorraine, who sent this message, by the way, through our Facebook page, facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. And you can do the same. You just send us a private message through our page. Anyhow, here is her message. I'm raging and upset at the same time here. Can you please ask your listener's opinion on this? My daughter is 9 and is so excited to have her very first sleepover this Saturday. She's invited 5 of her good friends from school and has been really looking forward to it for weeks. I texted all parents last week and 4 got back to me saying that their kids are delighted to come. However, last night, one of the parents got back to me saying that her daughter won't be coming on Saturday. I found out through my daughter that apparently she's not allowed stay in our house because the mum doesn't trust anyone these days. She's not allowed to stay anywhere at night time. I'm in such shock. I know this woman not terribly well, but certainly well enough, and feel she's basically accusing me and my husband of being perverts or that something inappropriate is going to happen to their daughter. It's put such a dampener on the whole thing. Sleepovers were always an exciting, happy time for me as a kid. And I just feel so horrible that in this day and age, something so innocent can be seen as something seedy or wrong. I also feel sorry for the child who's going to miss out now. Am I overreacting? Have any other parents come across this? Right. So anyway, sleepover this Saturday. 4 of the 5 kids are coming. One of them isn't coming because she's not allowed, and that Mammy doesn't trust anyone these days. She's not allowed to stay the night anywhere, including at Lorraine's house. The other 4 kids, no problem. They're having a sleepover. It's something kids do. But this particular child is not allowed to stay. Mammy has said that she doesn't trust anyone these days. She's not allowed to stay the night anywhere. Now, this woman isn't Lorraine's best friend by any stretch of the imagination, but she does know her, and she did text the parents. It's not like the young one arranged this all by herself. She did communicate with all of the parents, but one of the 5 parents said, no, I don't trust anyone these days, not allowed to stay. And I know this woman not terribly well, but well enough, and feel like she's basically accusing me and my husband of being perverts, or that something inappropriate is going to happen. I would love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Is this mother right to be upset? Or is the other mother right for not trusting anybody? For not wanting her daughter to go to a sleepover with people she knows well, but not amazingly well? But it's the child, it's this girl, their daughter, who's inviting her to the sleepover. But 1 girl out of 5 is not allowed go. Call me right now on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Davina, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Davina.
Hi, Adrian.
Well, Davina, can you understand why Lorraine is a bit upset?
Well, I think she might be taking it a little bit personally. I mean, I don't allow my daughter to go on sleepovers with somebody that I know, but don't really know. And it's nothing personal, or it's nothing against the parents or anything like that. I just think this day and age, there's too much coming out about abuse and everything else. And I just think the other lady has a right to protect her child if she wants to.
And obviously we all have a right to protect our child. And that's what she's doing. But is it not a bit paranoid? Is it not a bit over the top?
Well, who's to say this lady isn't a victim of abuse or whatever, and she's just trying to make sure it doesn't happen to her own child? You just don't know these days. I mean, there's still a lot of abuse victims haven't come out and told what happened to them, or because it could be a family member, it could have been a father, could have been anything. So no, I just think if the little girl is upset and everything else, I'd rather have the child up.
What the woman says, I also feel sorry for the child who's actually going to miss out. And then the other 4 in school, or when they all see each other again, are all going to be talking about the great night they had at the sleepover, but this young one's going to completely and utterly miss out on that.
So invite other kids to sleep over in your house. It's like what I do. I'd have kids over to the house to sleep over in mine if I was a bit dubious about having sleepovers.
But you see, this raises the question about whether or not parents should even be inviting children for a sleepover in their house anymore, because, as this lady said, she doesn't trust anyone these days. She's not allowed to stay the night anywhere. I'm trying to find out if there are other parents like that.
Well, I'd say there is. I'd say there's quite a few, but at the end of the day, it's a personal choice, isn't it? I mean, if women want to have kids over, that's fair enough. And if their mother, one of the children's mothers, doesn't want them to sleep over, well then I personally wouldn't be offended. I'd be just like, okay, that's no problem. You know, and yeah, you do think of the little girl, but if it was my little girl and she was upset, I'd say, okay, well, I'll have girls sleeping over here. And if one of their mothers said, no, I'm a little bit, whatever, I wouldn't be offended.
Yeah, but this mother,
little girl.
This mother that Lorraine says she says, I know this woman, not terribly well, but well enough. So in other words, she knows her first name, she knows her to talk to, and all of that. And she finds it offensive to her and her husband that, well, look, you can't really be trusted with kids in your house.
Well, I'd say there's a lot of mothers like that. I'd say a lot of women would be offended. Of course they would. I mean, I'm not knocking that other woman for being offended either. But like at the end of the day, it's the other lady's choice, and she may have reasons for it. Not against that couple personally, but in her own.
Well, somebody
life,
just texted in. Sue just texted in. The child might have a few problems like bedwetting or maybe night terrors. The parents might be too embarrassed to say. I would sooner say something like that than I don't trust anyone these days. Do you know what I mean? In confidence, I would, if that were the issue, I would say she'd just say it to the parents.
Well, maybe she will say it to her if she sees her again. You know, she said she doesn't know her that well. She knows her to talk to, but if she met her at the school or something, she might apologise to her and say, look, I didn't mean to be offensive or anything, but that's just the way I feel. I just don't trust people these days. And there's an awful lot of mothers like that, Adrian. An awful lot of mothers, because there's just far too much abuse coming out, and it's from
But that's to suggest, but Davina, that's to suggest that the abuse we hear about is something new. That sort of abuse, sadly, has always gone on. We just happen to be better at finding out about it now.
Yeah, and people are a little bit, children are more aware.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
You know, parents are telling their children, you know, they're telling them, I know it's terrible taking their little innocence away and everything, but they have to be warned because it's just the way the world is now. But I genuinely would not be offended if a woman said to me, I'm sorry, I just don't trust anybody anymore.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Davina. 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. A lot of people saying this mother is being way over the top and paranoid by saying, I don't trust anyone these days. She's not allowed to stay the night anywhere. Not just in... Actually, Davina, just on that, this child is not allowed to stay anywhere. So it's not just that she doesn't know Lorraine overly well, she's not allowed to stay anywhere. That's ridiculous, is it not?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, if she wants to try and keep her child safe, like I said, Adrian, you'd never know. You'd never know what happened to that lady, or maybe one of her family members or something, you know, and they're just like, oh, I'll never let my child sleep anywhere. I don't want that to happen to my child.
Okay, let me read this message from Jean. She says, I feel strongly about this. That lady who's making it about herself needs to get over it because the parent doesn't know her family, so she can say no. And the one being paranoid is the woman who sent the message. Nothing wrong with being careful. If she wasn't, it would be a different message. Get over it. It's not about you. Okay, and you're right, Jean. But this mother said she doesn't trust anyone these days, and this child is not allowed to stay the night anywhere. That's the key word. Anywhere. It's not just this woman's house. She's not allowed to stay anywhere. Is that ridiculous? Or maybe you completely agree with this woman. Billy, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Billy?
Hey, lads, how's things?
Good, thanks, Billy.
I see both sides here now, Adrian, to be fair. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with my little girl. She's nearly 9 as well, in fairness, staying over in her friend's house.
Yeah.
But if it was somebody I didn't know, I'd say no, absolutely not.
Okay, and what about this woman who says her child can't stay anywhere?
Well, I remember there some time ago you had something very similar conversation. And that woman, Breda, who was always on, said that she wouldn't even let her kids stay in the same room as her brothers or father for whatever reason.
That's right, yeah, she did. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that was just, what? But she wouldn't let the kids stay anywhere. See, you were saying there that the 9-year-old told the mother this. She didn't actually hear it from the mother herself.
From the horse's mouth, no.
Exactly. So that could have been.
I found out through my daughter that apparently she's not allowed to stay in our house because the mum doesn't trust anyone these days. She's not allowed to stay the night anywhere.
That's kind of big words for a 9-year-old, isn't it? It could be.
Well, I'm sure the mother is paraphrasing it, but yeah.
Yeah, you could have you sort of put the nail in the hammer or whatever you want to call it there. Boy, back saying the child have night terrors. She could wet the bed. Them kind of things. And then mother's just embarrassing. That's the excuse she uses. But I'm like, you can't be too careful with kids nowadays. If she knew her well, I don't see a problem. But if she doesn't know her and just how's it going, just to see, and she might even know her husband. I know this.
From what I gather, this is a group of 5 best friends from school. These girls all know each other really well. The girls know each other, so surely that's something, is it not?
Well, I wouldn't send my daughter to someone I didn't know. I'm not being honest with you. That's why I tell you straight. I wouldn't. I think my daughter came in and said such a up the other end of the village or whatever is asleep, or I'd say I don't know her, don't know him. No, not happening.
But
And
this
I knew
lady,
them, yeah, no problem. But, I
but
did
this
not
lady
know.
does
No way.
know this woman.
But I think did she say that she just knew her to say hello?
She said no. She says I know this woman, not terribly well, but well enough.
Well, there you go. But then does the woman know her that well?
Okay, so your point is if you didn't know.
It's a wider conversation piece here, Adrian.
Okay, but this woman has said, and this is like what you were saying about that caller on the show before, saying that her child is not allowed to stay anywhere.
Right,
absolutely
okay, my apologies.
anywhere.
I missed that bit there now. Okay, well, if she's not allowed to stay anywhere, well, then I think there's more issues there than what meets the eye. That's from what it sounds like. But, look, you know, at the end of the day, as you said yourself, the child could have, you know, night terrors, could unfortunately wet the bed or something like that. It could be a bigger thing, and she's using that as an excuse.
All right, 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98, like Joanna just did.
Adrian, sorry I can't come on. This is Joanna here. I've got to say I would be of the same feeling. The woman has said that she kind of knows her. I wouldn't let my child stay with anybody that I kind of knew for a sleepover, and for her to be offended, perfectly her right. But what is she offended over? The fact that somebody's looking out for their child? Pretty much nonsense, really.
Well, what the lady said is, I feel like she's basically accusing me and my husband of being perverts, or that something inappropriate will happen to their daughter. We'll take a very quick break. There's huge interest in this. We'll take more of your calls straight after the break. Don't go away.
98fm Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
A couple of interesting messages about what we're talking about, and that is this child not allowed going to sleep over this weekend. And it is something that a lot of parents just don't allow anymore. And I want to find out why. That child, says this message from Kevin, will end up friendless and may well end up getting groomed online because of her mother's actions. The child will be on social media all day because she will have no friends. And then somebody else is trying to perhaps excuse the mother who said no for this reason.
Adrian, who's to say that lady herself wasn't abused before and she's just not letting her child go somewhere to protect her from what happened to her? I'm not saying it did happen, but it's a possibility.
And then Roisin says 9 is too young to be going on a sleepover anyway.
Hi, Adrian, sorry I can't come on. I don't know, I think 9 is very young anyway. I don't think she's missing out not having a sleepover at 9. You know, she's her whole teenage life to be doing that with friends, and you know, the two mothers don't know each other all that well. You know, the way I'd look at that is, if you didn't know somebody that well, would you give them the keys to your car, the keys to your house to look after? Probably not. So why would you send your child, you know? And it's not even to be offended about, it's just, you know, they can have play dates, they don't need to have sleepovers.
Okay, now, here's another message actually, and this is mad. This is from Siobhan. And she says, we've friends. We're friends with... we've friends that we're friends with over 20 years. We do loads together. Our two boys are the same age at 12. And my friend says, I just don't do sleepovers. We're very close friends. The kids or myself don't understand it, but I have to respect it. It's her child, even though I don't get it at all and think it's a bit much. And that's from Siobhan. And so basically, this lady's actually a friend of hers and won't let her child or children go on a sleepover. Breda, you're on 98fm. Hi, Breda.
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thank you, Breda. Not the same Breda that was on this show before, no?
No.
Okay, no. Right, okay. Now, your child has been on loads of sleepovers.
Yes, but I've also refused a load of sleepovers.
On what grounds do you refuse?
Because I you know, just because you know somebody to say hi to on the playground or, you know, at whatever, you bump into them, that to me is not knowing somebody. So I got my child into the world. It's my job to protect her. So if I don't know you, my child can't go anywhere. And my daughter.
Okay, but what qualifies as knowing somebody?
Well, I think somebody that you would, you know, have spent time with, and you know, maybe have been to their home and they've been to your home, and just that you generally get to know the ethos of the person, and you know what their what's the word I'm looking for? What their standards are in life, like as in, are they happy to let the kids just run off out and they don't know where they are, or do they keep a close eye on them? If something happens to her, it's my job at the end of the day. So I have to protect her and mind her.
Okay, but what about a parent that will say that my child isn't allowed on a sleepover anywhere?
Well, now, I have to say, my lady probably got to about 10 or 11, maybe probably even 11 or 12. I didn't let her sleep over anywhere except in her auntie's house with her cousins.
Why?
Because I didn't know people well enough, even though she's been in class with the same girls from baby class. I just really didn't know these people very well. I'm away quite a bit. I work away a lot. And,
but I mean, I don't really understand what you mean by very well. Have a love affair with them, or... do you know what I mean?
No, but I mean, you need to know somebody. You need to know somebody on a certain level to know...
Like, are you talking about somebody that you go for a drink with, or somebody that you had a chat with outside the school gate?
But if you have a chat with somebody outside the school gate doesn't tell me whether they're a suitable person to have my child for a night and mind them and protect them and look after them. And I'm sorry if anybody's insulted by that, but that's my ethos and that's what I've always gone by, and I don't apologise to anybody for it.
Okay, stay there for a second, because Lauren, you think that, well, which one of the mothers is being paranoid? The one who won't allow the child on the sleepover?
Yeah, definitely. Paranoid, overhead.
This mother has apparently said that she's not allowed to stay the night anywhere.
Yeah, paranoid. Like, if you're talking about abuse, most of the time it happens in your own home, not in somebody else's home.
That's very true.
So what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I grew up, my ma was very overprotective of me growing up, but I was never stopped going on a sleepover.
And in fact, just to go back to this point for a second, we're talking about this child going on a sleepover, but Breda, it's not like she's going on a sleepover on her own. There are 5 other kids going. So they'll all be together. And as Lauren just said, what's the worst that can happen?
Well, the worst that can happen for starters is that because there's a group of 5 of them, they could be saying, Mum, can we go outside? And they all go wandering off, and Mum doesn't know where they are, and something happens to one of them. And, it's very hard to mind 5 9-year-olds on your own together. It really is.
My Jesus.
No, I'm sorry, but it is. I mean, I've had, I would have maybe 2, probably 2 to 3 at the most, with Jenny, and that would be it. After that, then I just feel there's too many. You're trying to watch them all. You don't and then kids are egging each other on to do stupid things and whatever else. I think
Adrian, the paranoia is unbelievable.
And is that what you're hearing here, Lauren? Just complete and utter paranoia?
Oh, I've never heard so much paranoia in my life. I mean, Adrian, even when you were a child, did your mother ever stop you going on sleepovers?
No, never, no.
Other parents couldn't handle you, or you might go off and do X, Y, and Z?
No, and in fact, I would have been, and I remember very well, I would have been probably 7 or 8 when I went on my first sleepover with my friend. We had a great time. It was brilliant.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed out until, so when I was younger, people were allowed out a lot later than I was. I had curfews. My mother was very strict, and she was, very over the top when it came to protecting and stuff like that. But when it came to sleepovers, a sleepover is a sleepover, and everybody...
And you obviously think it's part of growing up. It's part of what we all do.
Yeah, and as long as you know the parent enough, you have their phone number, you know them well enough, you can ring and check up with your child to make sure they're okay, or if there was ever an accident or an emergency. I just don't see the issue with it.
You see this as just being overprotective parenting?
Oh, way over the top.
Stay there for a second, because Kate... Your son isn't allowed to go on sleepovers.
No, not at all.
Why?
Yeah, he's still a bit young, but as I explained, even as he gets older, he won't be allowed to go on sleepovers. As his auntie used to actually stay over in her best friend's house right across the road from where she lived.
Okay.
Both families knew each other their whole lives. The fathers were quite friendly with each other. All the siblings varied in age, and they all palled with each other. And it wasn't until later on, a few years later, when my son's auntie attempted to take her life. And it turned out that her best friend's father had been sexually abusing her for years while she was having sleepovers in the house.
And for that reason then, and that's disgraceful, that's awful. I hate to hear stories like that, although as we said a while ago, you are much more likely to be abused by somebody that you know.
Exactly, by someone you know. The moral of the story here is, no matter how much you know someone from school runs or bumping into them in your local shop or even by being friends with them, what somebody shows you in public is not what somebody is behind closed doors.
Yeah, but you can say that about very close family members as well. Yeah.
Oh, they were very close.
Okay, but
even
because
her brothers were best friends.
But because of what happened to your son's auntie,
I just won't allow him to go anywhere. No.
You won't allow him to go anywhere.
No, because they were best friends. Like, them families lived right across.
But like I said, what happened is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's going to happen to your son.
No, it doesn't. But what kind of security do I have to say that it won't?
Well, Lauren,
take that chance with my child.
Lauren, is that more paranoia, or can you understand that paranoia?
Well, it's actually
like I lived through this.
What happened to her?
Sorry, hang on. Let me just get Lauren. Say that again, please.
It's absolutely horrendous what happened
Yes.
to her. But basically, what you're doing is you're putting your paranoia on your son and denying him the chance to enjoy what every kid loves growing up, which is a sleepover. And like I said earlier, you're more than likely to be abused by someone in your own family than by someone on the outside. And yeah, it was absolute shit what happened, and it's also rare.
To be honest, what happened to her was it was more than shit. It was soul destroying.
Of course,
nobody is denying that.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
what Lauren is saying,
everybody was affected, her family and everything. If that's me projecting my paranoia onto my child still gets holidays. He still gets school trips. If the one thing he misses out on in life is sleepovers and potentially witnessing something he shouldn't witness. Like, even the other girl said, well, there's five kids there, how does it go on?
Yeah,
there were 5-6 kids in that house and they were having sleepovers, and he'd sneak in and wake her up.
Right, okay. Now, did you say something about school tours? You won't let him go on school tours either?
No, I said he will still experience all those things.
Right,
I said if the one thing he is neglected of is having a sleepover, then I'm sorry, to me, he's still having a great childhood.
Okay, but stay there for a moment. Let me read out a couple of messages before we wrap this up. Sarah and Anto listening to us in Canada right now. I'd have to think that maybe the child could feel uncomfortable staying the night, and the parents are saying she can't stay to save her embarrassment. As a child, I'd have my parents tell a friend's parents I couldn't stay because I hated to stay the night at friends' houses, says that message. And another message says, Adrian, we let our son have numerous sleepovers with close friends who have sons of the same age. We subsequently found out that they were up half the night playing unsuitable video games and left to their own devices for the night while Mammy was drinking wine in the kitchen. They are 7. We thought we knew these parents very well. Obviously not. Never again. We always had sleepovers as kids, but now as a parent I see things differently. Our main job is to protect our kids whatever way we see fit. Sorry, just one final call very quickly. Amy, you're kind of saying that maybe there was some other reason as well for saying no.
Yeah, I just feel like why question the mother? If you're going to get offended by it, then go to her yourself and say, like, you know, is everything okay? Is there a reason? And then take that reason and walk away and just say, okay, fine. At the end of the day...
But I think part of the reason she would have contacted us is to find out, is this common? Are many parents like this who just say a blanket, no, my child's not staying anywhere? Kate, we just heard from, and you can perhaps understand where Kate is coming from.
Absolutely, yeah. You can understand, but you can't ever question a parent. You can't just put it down to paranoia. You don't know the background. You don't know whether she suffers from any, she could have prolonged postnatal depression, anything, all of those things. You don't know, so don't question a parent's reasoning for it. I just don't think anybody really has a right to just turn around and put it down to massive paranoia. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is...
Okay, she's entitled to make... Obviously, she's entitled to make her own decision on it, but to deny a child ever going on a sleepover, ever...
To deny is such a strong term as
But that's what it is, really. Okay, if you look at this particular child, they're obviously a group of 5 friends, and one of those 5 is going to miss out. That's hardly fair, is it, on that one child?
If the child is not allowed to stay anywhere, like that little girl said to her mommy, that child is not allowed to stay anywhere, she doesn't know any different.
But she does, because all the other kids are going to be talking about it. Oh, we had a great night. Oh, we had a great laugh. We watched this on the telly or whatever.
Yeah, but you don't know. You don't know. It could be like those people in Canada said. It could be the child.
Okay, but just on that point, Jeanette says it's not the end of the world to miss a sleepover.
Missing out on a sleepover is not the end of the world, and like undermining this woman's decision to say no is a bit kind of like sad. And the woman who is complaining is the paranoid one, because the lady who said no didn't say anything about sexual abuse or abuse of a child. So why is she bringing that up? That's a bit strange if you ask me. So she can say no. The child's going to see their friends in school or the next day or whatever at playground. You're not going to be missing out on anything. So get over it.
Now, there you go. Thank you very much indeed to that lady for contacting us in the first place. Lorraine, thanks for sending that message to our Facebook page, which you can do as well, facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. Or send us an email if there's something you want to bring up on tomorrow's programme to dublintalks@98fm.com. That's it from us for today. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Barry Dunn is next. And in the next hour, he's got some great music lined up, like these.